I thought, first of all, I thought our guys played, well, especially in the second half in a very tough environment. I didn't think we played great defensive football in the first half, but I think we played clutch defense in the first half. We gave up big runs, but we stepped up and made plays when it mattered most. So I thought that was really important for us. We won the starting field position, our 44 compared to their 25. I thought Blake was a big difference in the game this week compared to last week. Tough weather conditions, and he was able to punt the ball and swing field position when we needed him to. It was disappointing we put the ball on the ground. We take as much pride in that as I think as anybody in the country, and we don't do that. We don't put the ball on the ground. We practice outside in those type of conditions all the time, so that's going to be an area of emphasis like it always is. We were able to win the penalty battle, although I thought we had really costly penalties. I mean, obviously, we're in a situation where Miles probably has 200 yards more of total offense without those two big penalties. And the shame is, literally, Polk does put his hands on the guy's back, but it doesn't affect the play. But he shouldn't have done it. At the end of the day, he shouldn't have done it. And that was a huge run. And then the pick was a legitimate call. We should have avoided the guy, and we didn't. That was a legitimate call, and I think it wouldn't have mattered anyway, to be honest with you. Explosive plays. We won the explosive play battle. We had 9, they had 4. I think we can still be more explosive with the weather conditions. I thought overall we did some good things, especially we were able to establish the run in the second half. The punt return was really big by DeAndre. Amani just continues. The ball likes Amani. I've been around guys like that my whole career, where they just seem to be around the ball and make plays on the ball. So some great things going on. I think we all see why there was so much buzz and excitement about KJ Hamler. And then just Trace continues to throw touchdown passes. So, pleased with kind of where we're at, and we just got to keep getting better. We got to take another step. Tomorrow's practice. We got to take another step this week, but we're going to enjoy this win on a bus ride home and then move on to the next one.
James, what changed defensively after the 4th down stop inside your 10? Because I don't think they crossed midfield until very late in the game.
Yeah, the reality is we were not what we call spilling at the defensive end. So they were running some counter plays or power plays, and our defensive end was getting up the field. And when that guard came to kick him, he was up the field and he was getting kicked out. Where we're supposed to spill that, we're supposed to wrong shoulder that and make the play bounce, not allow the play to get vertical. So that was the biggest change that we had to make. I thought a couple times they were getting some of our checks and some of where our pressures were coming from. So they knew we were bringing boundary pressure or field pressure, and then they were running the stretch play away from it. So we just made some subtle adjustments. I thought we played a little bit more base in the second half, and allowed our guys to kind of get up the field and make some plays and hold their gaps without as much movement, line movements and things like that. But really, more than anything, it was just getting the defensive end to consistently spill the pull it.
James, you talked about on Tuesday, I believe it was, the difference the team can jump from week 1 to 2. You come out here, win by 45 points, whatever it was. How big do you think that jump was for your team? Where do you think you guys made those leaps?
Well, the first thing is we got to play better in the first half, because depending on how things go, you may not be able to come back. You may not be able to recover from the time of possession. They dominated the time of possession. They dominated big runs in the first half. But again, we played really clutch defense, I thought. I think we made some really good strides. We played some with really good confidence. We made a bunch of corrections off film. We're still going to have to make a bunch of corrections. We were able to get guys. We had a bunch of guys play for the first time. I still think we're playing a little bit at times like an inexperienced football team, but you saw those guys that I think it was 15 or 17 first-time players last week took a big step this week. So we can continue building on that. That was a big part. I thought Blake factored in as much as anything. I think I mentioned that when I talked about the starting field position, our 44 to their 25. Blake was a huge difference in the game in swinging field position. And then on top of that, DeAndre's big return as well. So we got some weapons. we got to be a little bit more consistent in the things that we're doing. But we got some weapons that can hurt you in a lot of different ways, and I've been really pleased with the two, true freshman kickers, the kicker and the kickoff guy and the field goal specialist. So I've been pleased with those guys. But I don't think there's any doubt that we took a step on special teams this week.
You can't control the weather, obviously, but for you guys to, like you said, make the adjustments you made in the second half and win in a hostile environment, what's it say about this team after what happened last week and the, kind of surviving the win against Sept State?
Yeah, I think we've had two situations that we're going to be able to grow from and learn from. We had a game where we had to go 2-minute drive to win it at home. We play a tough, well-coached opponent on the road in the rain, and based on their style of offense and our style of offense, some people would say maybe that gave them an advantage. And we had to overcome that and handle that. And I was pleased with what we did with those types of things. But again, we still got a bunch of inexperienced players that are learning and growing. But I do think going on to the road in this type of environment, having overcome a really good opponent last week as well, is going to help us. Is going to help us. So we're going to have a bunch of film to watch. We're going to have a bunch of corrections to make. But that's a good football team we played tonight. They're very well coached. It's a tough environment to play in. They were juiced up. We were juiced up. But we were able to make some clutch plays. That play, I think it was McPherson on the long run. He runs down and makes the tackle. That's a huge play. Huge play. He makes the tackle, and then we stop him, and they get no points out of that drive. Those are the plays, that really you can build on. Those effort plays that really add up for you. So, I'm pleased with our team. I'm pleased with what we did this weekend. But again, there's a lot of things still that we got to get corrected. The good thing is the coaches will watch this film, get it graded on the bus ride home, because we'll get home fairly late. And then we got to get started on our next opponent come Sunday, make the corrections with the guys, and then get into our normal game week after that.
You were here a couple times there, and you mentioned how juiced up everybody was. That being said, how satisfying was it to close out the home chapter of this rivalry here with the lopsided nature of the score that you guys put up?
We were happy to get a win this week against a good opponent.
James, did you consider taking Trace out any earlier, especially with that shot he took midway through the fourth?
Yeah, I think that's always an argument of when you take those guys out. I think maybe last week played a part in that. I mean, we gave up a bunch of points in the fourth quarter last week. I wanted to, make sure that we were able to finish the way we should have. And then obviously to be able to get the twos in there and get them some legitimate work was important as well. But yeah, in these types of games, you can always make that argument. What's the right time to get guys out? I get it. I get it. But that's always a conversation. I think after last week with how that fourth quarter went and some of the things that I saw on TV, earlier today, that's always the fine line.
But the impact for Gibbons tonight, he came back. I think he led the team in tackles.
Huge. D tackles, defensive linemen, offensive linemen is how this game is made. We got to continue building there. We got to continue growing. That's where we're going to be able to win this season, short term and long term, is up front. And I think we all realize Kevin Gibbons is a difference maker, and the fact you got Kevin and Windsor and Sharif and Etor all on the field, we think that's a really good group. And now that allows us to get that next wave of guys a bunch of reps and be able to grow those guys, because as this season continues to go on, we're going to need depth across the defensive line. And we got talented guys, but some of them lack some experience. Etor's a guy we think is tremendously talented, but still lacks some experience. So having Kevin back, I don't think there's any doubt that he had a major factor in the game, obviously with a career-high 7 tackles.
James, with how effectively they ran the ball in the first half?
No, I wouldn't say surprise. I mean, we know that's who they are. That's the mentality of the head coach. That's kind of how their program is built. I don't think there's any doubt about it. But, I agree with you. We gave up some big plays, but we played great clutch defense in the first half, and I think we only gave up 6 points. And in today's day and age, with the scores that you see on TV each week and around the conference and all over the country, I'll take 6 points. I know there was some big plays and and they did a really good job, you know, with some scheme things and things like that. But again, once we got a few things adjusted, which we shouldn't need to make adjustments, we should be doing that because that's how we play from the beginning, and we'll have to do that moving on throughout the rest of the season. But again, we played really good clutch defense in the first half, but as the season goes on, we won't be able to get away with that against some of our opponents.
Thanks, Coach.